Our next topic will be discussion about what do we mean by web application penetration testing and what do we mean by different kind of web application attacks such as cross-site scripting and SQL injection. And after the end of this section, we will realize that most of the attacks that are happening every day around the world right now is based on web attacks. Because at the end, any organization could have the control to make its file share server not exposed to the internet, could limit who can access the Active Directory. And by default, we do not publish Active Directory on the public internet. But if every organization could have a kind of API, a kind of mobile application, a kind of website that need to be applicable or need to be visible by the public in order to be able to access or utilize this service. So as the internet is consisting of websites mainly, and we have a lot of port 80 and port 443 opened for the globe, we usually find the web attacks are the most common in nowadays. So essentially, we don't see in the real world a lot of attacks that are based on Nmap scan, and after scanning on Nmap, we find the port 21 open, and then we get an exploit, and using this exploit, we exploit port 21. We don't see port 21 opened a lot actually. But what we see more is opened is port 80 and port 443. So whenever there will be a vulnerability that could be exploited from one of these two ports, we can exploit it. And after then, we can initiate a remote code execution. We can gain access or take control of this server. And from this server, we can use it as a jump host to initiate attacks to other hosts inside this network. In order to understand what is the digital presence for certain organization or what is the open board across the internet, you are not required to do Nmap scan by yourself. You have a website called Shodan.io, and Shodan is a website that include like a scanner, and this scanner explore the whole world, and it try to detect what is the open ports across the globe. Like, for example, it can tell if you want to look for a website that is running SQL database, something like this. So all what you need to do using Shodan is to search for SQL. And Shodan will give you the results that indicate, for example, IP addresses that include SQL service running and available for public. So we will have a lot of SQL databases that are available online. Some of it is at China, we have at United States, at Hong Kong, and so on. But Shodan services is paid service. So it can give you like information about, we have like 500,000 database servers that are available online. And this is the distribution for these database servers. We have a lot of in China, a lot of US, a lot of India, Korea, Turkey. And what is the port or service that have this service published? So some of these services are available over port 443, some over the default port. What are the key top organizations that have this service opened? And what is the top product? What is the version of SQL database? We have SQL 2008, 2019. So as long as a hacker knew that we have like 63,000 port opened with SQL database that are running version 2008, he can look for exploits for vulnerabilities in this affected version. This is a very old version for SQL. So one of these 63,000 hosts might be subject to be attacked because it might not be patched using recent vulnerability. We have servers that are running 2003 operating system, by the way. Can you see this? So as you can see, Shodan service could provide a lot of useful information, but as you are using a free access account or something like this, you are only allowed to view a limited portion of search data. So penetration testers are usually subscribed to Shodan using paid accounts, and these accounts could give them a lot of information. If I need to check if my organization is secure or not, I need to know how much information is available about my IP addresses on the internet. Okay, so Shodan is searching the internet on day-to-day basis. If you are looking to an RDB or for our RDB service, you can search by the keyword RDB, and it will start to tell you that what are the RDB services that are available online. So all of these are RDB machines that when you take this IP address and open your RDB device or RDB client, which looks like this way, and then you write this IP address, you may get like a message tells you to enter username and password. So it can help you to identify if you have RDB ports or RDB service online. It is not working. Maybe they closed this issue or closed this problem. I might use this IP address or try to open this IP address. So I now get the prompt to log in by username and password. And if we have like this system is using old operating system, such as 2008, 2016, maybe they could have like a flaw or a problem in the RDB. So as a result, I could search for such a vulnerability and I can exploit it or bring the suitable exploit to exploit it. So Shodan is very useful service and it provides you a lot of information about what are the services that are available on the web. And pen tester or web application pen tester can use these services or can use these IP addresses to initiate attacks and discover what could be the vulnerability on each one of these servers. Okay? So another way to detect web vulnerability, for example, we know about a service called WordPress or not? Have we ever heard about WordPress or not? Yeah, yeah. WordPress is like a tool or like a framework or a website that allow you to create your own website based on WordPress technology. In WordPress, we could have some vulnerabilities that could allow you to bypass the authentication. So this vulnerability appear from version to version. So the WordPress company or organization issue patches or updates to close this vulnerability. But we might find websites that are based on WordPress that are till this moment are still using these vulnerable components. So if you find one of these websites, you can go and you can start or try your luck if you to see if you can penetrate or hack this website or not. Another example for vulnerabilities that we can find as well is we may have like a folder in our website that includes sensitive data, such as user accounts, information about banking accounts, and so on. And we may not apply proper authentication and authorization measures to ensure that only authorized people will be able to access this directory or access this folder. So we have interesting tool called or interesting way to detect such websites or detect such files, which is called the Google Hacking Database or GHDB. We are all familiar with Google, right? We use Google to search for a news and search for a specific string to see the occurrence of this specific string on the web. So there is another way to use Google by typing something like this. When I write this term in Google search, just when I type something like this, for example, we can mention that all the results are essentially Excel files. Can you see this icon here? So I was searching for a specific string, and this string was related to HR audit checklist. It was something that could give me like a checklist to check what I need to do while I am auditing HR function in any organization. I could search for usernames, and the file type is file type. As you can see here, I don't want to open this file because this file could include sensitive data for one of the organizations. As you can see here, second grade username and passwords. So this text file or this Excel file could include information about usernames and their current grade, they may be KG1 or KG2 students, and this could be a link for a school or something like this. We have also user login password for a website that is related to Australia, and we have like a file that include IP addresses. I believe this could be a classified data, by the way. So anyway, I got like a lot of results that could include Excel files, and in these Excel files, I could include username and passwords. And this Excel file should be classified, but the website administrator missed to do something that authorizes only people who log into this website to reach this directory. And as a result, I could reach a classified information, as you can see here. And all of the test results here are Excel files. And please do not try to do this by yourself, because in some situation, these files could include macros. If you are familiar with Word, you could probably know that in Word files and Excel and PowerPoint and so on, we could embed inside our files like a programming script, and this programming script can help us to automate certain tasks. So in Word or in Excel or PowerPoint, I could provide like a way to manage, or let's say in other words, I could provide a way to write scripting and script code. Some of these files could include a malicious codes, okay? And it appear in the search because you have like a social password log, for example. So maybe this website is not a website that is related to a real organization, but maybe a hacker publish this data or this type of Excel files online. So you as a normal user who might be interested to open such file, you may go and open this file, and then you will get an exploit code on your desktop. Got it? For example, a few days ago, there was like a zero-day vulnerability exist called Folina. Folina is a zero-day exploit that appeared from 10 days ago, for example. It was 10 days ago, and it was based on abusing a function in Microsoft Word. So whenever I send you a special crafted Word document, and this Word document will include a kind of elements that are not relevant to you, but it will be executed in the background, you could take over any machine just by sending this machine this Word file. And people were aware about this vulnerability. And recently, like last Tuesday, Microsoft released an update to patch this zero-day flow. This malware was being delivered in regular Office documents. So you are not encouraged to test or download anything unless you have a proper mechanism to detect if it is malicious or not. One of these way, by the way, is to use a virtual machine. In case I need to open a suspicious file and I don't know what could be the impact of this file, I have a special operating system that track and work like the sandbox. So whenever I need to download any file of this, I will never open this file from my own machine. I will open it from a virtual machine that is isolated from my own device. Sorry. Okay. So Google Hacking Database is simply a way that you can differentiate a better way for search for the data that you are looking for. Assuming that I want to look for a files that end with extension rar, and this file include the name such as game.rar. So I'm looking for a games that are compressed in a rar format. So in this situation, I already received like a directories, and in these directories, I found a lot of zip files, and every one of these zip files include like a game, Rocket Mania, Angry Birds, and so on. And again, I'm not encouraged or encouraging anyone to download any file of this, because it might be a virus or might include a malicious code or might be violating like copyrights. Okay, but at the end, I got another option to search for a specific file or a specific URL. If I need to search for a site that include gov, indicating a government, and I need to search for a file type that is PPTX, and the file name called strategy.
or include the word strategy. So here I have a lot of PowerPoint presentations that are talking about strategic plans, and it is all published by different organizations. Okay, so all of these techniques can help a hacker to leak or detect sensitive data that are unprotected. But Google hacking database goes above these limits. For example, we were discussing the WordPress. So any website that work using WordPress will have a kind of a URL that include WordPress upload. And in this WordPress upload, we can find all data that has been uploaded to this website, and maybe it is not adequately protected. So in case I'm looking for a vulnerability or a search string on Google that could help me to detect a file containing juicy information, we can use this search string in Google. And as a result, I will find all the WordPress upload directories in multiple websites. So I can make my search space or make my search more interesting by, let's, for example, in addition to that, I can add site. And I need this site to include the keyword edu, education website. So I didn't find any information here, or I believe I need to add the keyword site in the beginning of the search word, by the way. So I can use site edu and then index or in title index of WebB upload. So again, I didn't find anything. So I will type in URL. So now I got the required option. So as you can see, I may find classified information, social security scans from one of the websites that their administrators were careless to protect this data. Fine? It is not fine, actually. Yeah, not good at all, yeah. So that's essentially what the penetration tester is doing. If I'm looking for, or I have been as an ethical hacker asked to test my application or test a specific website, one of the things that I could do is to go to Google and start to search first what other people can reach about my information. So I can write an URL, I can write my own organization URL, okay, and then I specify file type in this one. So I can determine what is the Excel files or Word file or password files that could be included. So I will write this URL, for example, here. So now Google started to detect that I am doing unusual activity. Okay, so file type, I will write XLSX in URL. So of course, Facebook does not reveal any Excel files that can be available for download unless you are authenticated, and you cannot reach such data from the normal internet. So Google hacking database is one of the information gathering techniques, and you can use a lot of search string that can help you to detect or find information that can help you in the web attack. One of these files could be the log file. What we should expect to find in the log files? What we should expect to find in log files. Files such as this one, for example. Maybe invalid login. Maybe login of the admin was succeeded, so I can identify what is the admin username or the IP address where the admin is located, right? What is Apache, by the way? If you can remember, I was talking with you about front end and back end. Do you remember this? Front end is what contains a website. In order to load a website on top of a server, you need to install web application platform or web platform. Apache is one of the web platform. Apache, IIS of Microsoft, Tomcat, all of these are like the platform that we should install first, and then we will bring our website and deploy it on top of this platform. So in case the website is working using Apache platform, it writes the logs or it records all logs related to this website activity in a file called apache.logs. Clear? Okay, so web application attacks can be categorized as this one. We have a lot of types for web application attacks. Whenever a hacker will try to do a kind of web application attacks, he can test any one of these techniques. What you are currently see now on the screen is called OWASP, and OWASP is a stand for Open Project for Web Application Security Project or Open Web Application Security Project, something like this. So OWASP is like an organization, non-profit organization that is concerned about research about what are the top security threats that are affecting web applications. And then they release like a recommendations for how to come over each one of these by a certain document they are developed, which is called ASVS, which stands for Application Security Verification Standard. So as we could agree, any web vulnerability could be related to improper developing or improper administration from the website admin or website developer. Agree with this? Do you agree with me? So we agreed that, or you may agree with me that any web vulnerability or any file that is intentionally left online like this way, or any attack that our website could be subject to, is basically because of unaware developer, improper security configurations, something was missed during building this website. Do you agree with me in this point? So the goal of OWASP is to start by defining or creating a list by the top security threats that websites were subject to in 2010. So in 2010, there was like an OWASP list define what is the key or the major cyber attacks related to web application. In 2013, they released a similar list, but instead of having cross-site scripting categorized as number 1, it is now categorized as number 3. And in 2017, they updated the list based on the current trending in attacks. So injection attacks came the first one, and so on. And after categorizing or defining what are all of this or what are the different kind of attacks and its categorization and so on, they created like a standard or a document called Application Security Verification Standard, which can be used by the developers or site administrators or application developers, and they can open or they can referring to this document, they can define or they can understand what is required from them while they are developing the application to make the website secure. So in terms of, for example, injection attacks, they need, for example, to ensure that they have authentication, session management. They need to ensure that they are using proper cryptographic architecture. They need to log the data in a proper way. For example, when I write a software code that log the authentication activity, this code should not log the password provided by the user for successful login attempts. Does this make sense? Because if I included the password in the log, and if these logs reviewed by someone or someone gained access to these logs, I will leak the password of the administrator. So in this standard, which is like 71 pages, they provide like high-level view for what is needed to ensure that your web application will get enough security against these 10 attacks or 10 type of attacks. Of course, web application attacks can be more than this, but they are defining just like the top 10. Okay? So in web app pen testing, like the vulnerability scanning and regular scanning, when we use the Nmap, Metasploit, in web app pen testing, we use different tools. We can use a tool called the Purple Suite. We can use a tool called Zap. We can use a tool called BIF, and we can use a tool called the Hydra. And depend on what we are trying to achieve, we can select the proper tool. So, for example, if we are trying to deal with a database and do a SQL injection attack, for example, we have a tool called the SQLmate. And SQLmate is a tool that can help you in conducting SQL injection attacks. And we will understand what is SQL injection attack, and we will see it how it looks like in reality. In case you are trying to do a password brute forcing attack to brute force or to crack a password for a certain administrator, you can use the Hydra tool. In case you are trying to do cross-site scripting, you can use a tool such as BIF. All what you need to know now is like the names of these tools, just to understand what is each tool about and what is the particular usage of every tool. In case you need a framework that can automate the web app pen testing and help you to do SQL map, cross-site scripting, and Hydra, you can rely on a Purple Suite. And Purple Suite tool is a commercial tool. So you need to pay for Purple Suite in order to use it. And whenever a new web attack emerges, Purple Suite vendor can create like a script that can help you as a penetration tester to automate these scripts. At the end, the goal of these tools is to help white hat hackers or ethical hackers to detect web vulnerability and report this vulnerability to the companies so they can close this vulnerability as fast as they could. Okay? So in the next slide, we will understand how we can learn how to protect or how to make web app pen testing. So I can ask you to download a virtual machine, and this virtual machine, for example, could be virtual machine that come with a vulnerable web application, and then I could ask you to install the ZAP proxy on your machine. And after installing the proxy, we can start the ZAP proxy and then start to do a kind of pen testing together on our application. But instead of all of this long operation, which might not be needed at this level, in this level, we need only to understand how attacks looks like and how is what is the foundation. We can rely on a website, interesting website that could be reachable by any one of you. This website is managed by a security vendor called the Contra, and this website is aimed to provide like awareness about different kind of web attacks. So essentially, we have all kinds of OWASP top 10 attacks listed on this website.